Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond IIT. Today, I wanted to talk about what jobs will make you rich because that's the goal for most people who are trying to get into a prestigious institute like an IIT. They want to get rich, they want to find a job that pays a lot of money, that has a high salary, and they believe that the IITs are the best way to get those jobs. So today I wanted to dispel some myths in this area, right? I want you to differentiate between the rich and the wealthy. I want you to understand what are the characteristics of jobs that can perhaps lead to wealth, right? And how do you find those jobs? So, without further ado, let's get started. So, uh, again, the modern day philosopher, the modern day sage on wealth is Naval Ravikant. Naval has this great podcast and this tweet storm that he did called "Getting Rich," I think, where he talks about how seeking wealth is better than seeking money or status, right? And wealth is what makes money while you sleep, right? Where you're not trading your time for money. That should be the goal. And that requires building multiple sources of income. Sometimes it requires you to invest with discipline over a long period of time so you can get the advantage of a compounding return on your investment. It's almost like saying if you buy a stock, you never sell it. You just keep holding on to it because you believe in it and that you benefit from compounding. You don't pay tax until you don't pay short-term capital gains because you're trying to time the market. You don't keep selling and buying every time there is a dip. You buy and then you hold through the cycles, and that's when you get the benefits of compounding. So you need to own assets that are going to make you money, and most of the time a job that you get out of college is not an asset. It is just you trading your time for money. And jobs that don't have equity, which means jobs that don't give you any stock options or any ownership in a company, generally are not going to make you wealthy. They're going to get you some money, they will probably make you rich. uh, and rich is a very relative term, so you can get different kinds of jobs, but you will still be trading time for money. And so long as you are trading time for money, you are not going to feel the effects of wealth. You're going to feel that you are in a race. It'll feel like you always have to work to make money, and that you cannot stop and that you cannot enjoy the time that you have because you're trading that time for money. So it's always a choice between time for yourself or money, and most people choose money, and that is not healthy in the long run. Jobs that make you wealthy or can make you rich beyond normal jobs almost always have stock options. They will also be jobs where you are rewarded for your creativity. They will be jobs where you are not just punching in and punching out. They're not going to be manufacturing jobs where you have to come in and make 10,000 widgets every day. And that's what you have to keep doing. There will be jobs where you have to think, you have to strategize, and you're paid for thinking about 10xing the outcomes of your company or your group or your team. And jobs that reward creativity in these areas are jobs that are going to make you rich. And finally, jobs that make you rich and perhaps wealthy are jobs that requires and reward specific knowledge. And that generally happens when you master a couple of areas like software and finance, for example, or software and um, graphic design, right? So as you start mastering more and more areas, you become the only expert in an intersection of these areas. And that's where companies might find it very hard to replace you, and companies will want to reward your specific knowledge. So build specific knowledge, and specific knowledge is generally built by chasing your own interests, right? So if I love technology and I love food, I will figure out how to use technology and food together, right? So my engineering education and my love for food can go hand in hand, and I can do something like what a modernist cuisine did, or I can build something like chef steps, or I can build something where I can use my specific knowledge and build something that nobody else has built. And generally, wealth only comes when you have ownership, right? A high salary generally does not lead to wealth. Wealth happens when you have a high salary, but more importantly, you have high savings, and that you invest those high savings into something that you can hold for a long term and see the effects of compounding and benefit from compound interest on those assets. So, wealth will only come to you if you own assets, and for you to own assets, you don't need a high paying job, you need high savings, and you can save in a low paying job also. That just means you have to live within your means. And generally, I think Indian culture is better than Western culture when it comes to living within your means. Western culture generally encourages taking on more debt, or, even credit card debt, but that's not true in India. So live within your means, increase your savings every time your salary increases. Do not spend everything that you make. These are hopefully common wisdom, but if you implement it and you start using those savings to buy assets that you allow to grow over a long period of time, that's what's going to lead to wealth. You will also get to wealth if you can be in a business with the same people for a long period of time, because you'll have a much greater level of trust with them, and that trust compounds over time, and you'll be able to do great things together. Naval gives the example of the PayPal mafia, the founders of PayPal who have gone on to do great things, and you should read about that if you don't know who they are. And always remember, wealth is almost always passively generated. It is not an outcome of your salary, it is not an outcome of a job that you do from 9 to 5. Wealth is generated when you're sleeping. And for you to do that, you need to own assets. So, one last thing about jobs that make money, right, or jobs that can make you wealthy, or jobs that make you rich, is that life is a fine balance between three things: health, time, and money. It's very hard to have all three of these things at the same time. When you're young, you're very healthy, you have a lot of time, but you don't have money. As you get older, you may have money, but you don't have time because your job is very demanding. And you may not have the health to enjoy the money. And that's because you've lost the vitality of youth. When you were young, you have the health, but you generally don't have the money. And sometimes you don't have the time because you've chosen a job that doesn't give you a lot of time. So when you're young, you are going to make career choices that require a lot of time commitment, and that might be okay. But as you progress in your long career, you should think about making choices that allow you to find this delicate balance between health, time, and money. Find jobs that have good work life balance, because those are the kind of jobs that will allow you to find joy from the money that you are making when you have the health that permits you to do the things that you want to do. And this is, like I say, a delicate balance. So over time, gravitate towards jobs that have good work life balance, jobs that allow you to manage your time, health, and money, these three things, in a balanced manner. That is the key to wealth, because without that, no matter how rich you are, it's just a number in the bank. It is not something that is going to help you get any kind of joy from that number, because you don't have the time to use it. And time is all you have until you have time, and then you die. And if you don't get any joy from the resources that you've built, or from the assets that you have bought or invested in that are bringing you wealth, then there is no point being wealthy or rich. So think about that. So finally, there are three things I want you to do. I want you to read Rich Dad and Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's an interesting book. I don't agree with everything that he says, specifically his thoughts around debt and using debt and leverage to make money. I think that's very risky. And again, you may have a different point of view, and that's okay. But that book lets you think differently. You should also listen to Naval Ravikant's podcast. I will have links in the description below. I can't even begin to do justice to the pithiness with which Naval explains his point of view and how clear his thinking is around wealth and money and career and long games and short games, and how he encourages you to play the long game. So do that. And then finally, if you're just interested in salaries and for software developers in Europe, watch that video, because the trimodal nature of salaries in Europe video is from Pragmatic Engineer. Is a very interesting take on how you can make different money, different amount of money for the same job, which at a glance it seems like the same job. It's just software development, but there are three different tiers and all of that. So I don't want to take a lot of away from his video. So watch that, and I hope you think differently about wealth, and you are thinking differently about money, and you're thinking differently about your career. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. There will be links in the description below the video. Thank you so much for your time.